3 weeks ago, Nintendo released their new hybrid console, the Nintendo Switch. And about 2 weeks ago, I made a video talking about all the stuff that I hate about the Nintendo Switch, so let's flip that on its head and now make a video that talks about all the things that I really like about the Nintendo Switch. If you haven't seen the other video, you can click on the little eye in the top right corner or wait till the end of the video where I will be putting a link to it, but either way, I suggest you go watch that. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right into the meat of this. The Nintendo Switch has sort of captured my heart. In spite of the 21-minute video that I made about the Nintendo Switch bad stuff, I really like this console. In spite of the high costs and money-grubbing tendencies of Nintendo, in spite of their tendency to copyright claim all the Nintendo content that they can get their grubby little hands on, and in spite of the relative underpoweredness of the console itself, I think it's a really good console, and I think that it's a really good step towards the future of video gaming in general. Because what is the Switch? The Switch is, at its core, a hybrid console. A console that you can either play as a handheld on the go, or you can just stick it in your dock and play it on the TV. What else could you want? You have the freedom to play in the way that suits you and your lifestyle the best, and that's what I like the most about it so far. Granted, I probably won't be using it nearly as much in portable mode as I will in TV mode, but one of my best friends has already just been dragging this thing everywhere he goes and has put hundreds of hours into it already in handheld mode. And I have to say, it's really nice to have the option. It's really nice to just have the option to just pick it up out of the dock and then take it with you without really missing a beat. There's no loading times that you have to go through. It doesn't have to like recompile anything or anything ridiculous like that. You don't have to change the mode. It just works. It's super portable. It's super convenient. And the form factor, while it does feel a little bit fragile, it's small enough to take with you. It's not small enough to fit in a pocket, unfortunately, but it's small enough to take with you and be relatively discreet. And that's really, really nice. That's really, really nice. A really nice thing to have. Especially with as old as the 3DS is now, and you don't really hear much new coming for that console anytime soon. Same thing with the Vita, which has actually, I think, been considered dead for a while now, even though it's still got some pretty good games. They both have good games on them, but both of them seem to have been stagnating recently. You don't really hear much about them other than, I don't know, Pokemon, right? I mean, that happens often. But hey, maybe we'll get a new Pokemon on this because this is the new handheld. And it's not just the portability that makes it convenient. The little Joy-Con controllers, as weird as they are, and as uncomfortable as they are, in my opinion, for a main controller, the fact that they can function as two completely separate controllers with as many buttons as a normal Super Nintendo controller, which, let's face it, that is more than enough buttons for a large majority of games, it's amazing. Out of the box, you have two controllers. Maybe they're a little small, but I personally don't mind it all that much. And I don't think many people will, because while they do look small at first, actually playing with them for a little bit, it starts to feel natural and you just start to kind of get into it. It's just like any other controller where eventually you'll just get into your groove and everything will work just fine. And I'm sure in the future some nice 3D printed controller mounts or controller docks, I guess for lack of a better word, for these little Joy-Cons to make them a little larger and a little more ergonomic are going to be released, and that's going to be nice to see. Also, tabletop mode when it's in portable mode, that's pretty cool too. I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, on to my next point, which I know I said that the portability and convenience were my favorite part, but this for real, this point is my absolute 100% most favorite thing about this console, hands down, bar none. And that is the fact that the sleep mode is fast and responsive and perfect for the way I like to play games. A little bit of backstory here. I'm a pretty big Super Smash Bros. Fan. I'm not competitive level, I'm not super good or anything, but I have a lot of fun with the title. And when it came out on the Nintendo 3DS, I spent pretty much all of my free time playing the single player, unlocking everything, playing the multiplayer, unlocking everything. But when I was done playing on my 3DS, I would just close the shell and put it away and do something else. I didn't have to worry about turning it off, I didn't have to worry about turning it on, I didn't have to worry about waiting around for loading screens or anything, because when I was ready to play it again later, all I had to do was pick it up, open it up, and bada bing bada boom, you're already in the game. You're probably at the menu that you wanted to be at, and you could just get right into the game very, very quickly. This example applies for pretty much any game, and it probably applies better for a more action-oriented game where there's not a lot of save points or where there's inconvenient save points or something like that. But I brought Super Smash Bros. Up because that game also came out on the Wii U, a very specifically made-for-TV console. Now, the reason why sleep is so important to me is because of this fact. Whenever Smash Bros. Finally came out on the Wii U, and I had spent all of this time playing so much on the 3DS. I spent about a week playing it on the console that it was arguably meant for in the first place, that actually had a better controller and the GameCube adapters, which is of course my chosen method of playing it. I played it for about a week and then I was done. I was done because it wasn't convenient anymore. The addiction just kind of went away because I couldn't be bothered to turn on my TV, turn on my console, sit through the initial console loading screen, select the game, sit through the game's loading screen, and then navigate to where I wanted to be. And I know to most of you this is going to sound completely insane. You're just going to be like, well, what's the big deal? You're only wasting like 30 seconds of your life. And you're right, and I don't have a better excuse than this, but those 30 seconds added up in such a big way. I don't know, it's hard to explain. You have to sit down, you have to turn everything on, you have to make sure everything's at the right channel, you have to make sure everything's plugged in, you have to get your controllers out. And it seems like such a small thing that you normally do whenever you're going to sit down and play video games anyway. But the fact that you have to sit through all these loading screens is just something that completely turned me off when you put it next to the instant on of the 3DS. Perhaps it's just me being a product of my environment and being immersed in technology, and in technology getting faster and faster and more instant gratification coming at us from every direction. Perhaps my attitude is a product of that. But this literally stopped me from playing Super Smash Bros. As much as I once did. It's also a big reason that I never finished Bloodborne. It's a big reason that I don't really bother with console titles all that much anymore. I mean, really, my PS4 is just a Netflix box at this point. And as much as I want to continue playing Final Fantasy 15, just the thought of sitting down, going through all those loading screens and then all that other nonsense, even though it's on the same channel as my Netflix box, because it is my Netflix box, it brings this sort of weird anxiety of like, now I have to make sure that I commit a certain amount of time to this, and if I don't find a convenient place to save, then I feel like I'm stuck, even though you can save anywhere. I don't know, it's hard to really explain. But here's the thing, the fact that the Nintendo Switch has this sleep functionality just kind of built into it that's just super easy to use, it's on instantly. You turn on the console from sleep mode, you press A couple times, you're in the game. That's it. It works in portable mode, it works in TV mode, and it's so fast, and it's so quick, and it's so convenient, and I love it so much. I don't have to stop my game, I could just save it for posterity, put it to sleep, and then pick right back up where I left off. No loading screens, no worry, no hassle. It's just, I don't know, it sounds very first world problem, and most of you are probably screaming at your computers right now, but I don't care! I love this! I love the sleep mode! It's the best thing ever. Fight me. And now that I've spent like 8 minutes talking about the stupid sleep mode, let's go on to our other points. I've only got a couple more, I promise, and these are going to be much smaller points compared to sleep mode. But the next point is that the Nintendo eShop has always been garbage. On the Wii, it was garbage. On the Wii U, it was trash. On the 3DS and on the DS... Was there one on the DS? Yeah, I think there was... DSi? There was one on the DSi. I didn't use that one. There was one on the 3DS. That was also garbage. Navigating through it sucked. It was slow. It was unresponsive. It was hard to navigate, hard to search. You couldn't really find what you wanted. And if you were in the middle of the game and wanted to go to the shop, you had to quit the game to go into the shop. It sucked. I don't want to quit the game to go into the shop. I just won't go into the shop then. How's that? But here on the Nintendo Switch, you can just pause your game, go to the home menu, go to the shop. I don't know why you would want to in most cases, but the opportunity is there. Maybe you want to like make a game start downloading that you are pretty hyped for, or maybe you want to go get a demo and you want to continue playing Breath of the Wild immediately afterwards, the opportunity's there, the option is there. You don't have to quit your game to go into the shop. And it loads faster, it's more responsive, it's easier to navigate, but right now, even though I'm saying that it's better than it was, we're gonna have to see what it looks like whenever the library expands. Because right now, the Nintendo Switch doesn't really have a lot of titles in its library. So when it expands and there's a lot more titles and it's going to be more laborious to actually dig through one by one to manually search for what you want, we're gonna have to see how the search functions work. We're gonna have to see how the filters work. Because right now, there's not really much of a reason to activate those filters at all. So this may be a little premature to say that the eShop doesn't suck, but in my experience so far, it's miles ahead of what it was. And I've been appreciating the fact that it works so well quite a bit. Again, it just works. And that's a running theme with the Nintendo Switch. Now that I'm going through all this and verbalizing it all, I'm noticing that everything just works, and it feels good. In spite of the lower graphic capabilities, in spite of the money-grubbing tendencies, it all just feels good. And that's arguably one of the more important things. It needs to feel good, and it does. And finally, my last point, even though this might be a very minor point, I see the Nintendo Switch being an incredible console for indie games. I've been playing Shovel Knight on this. I've been playing Shovel Knight, the new DLC, Specter of Torment, on my Nintendo Switch, and I feel like it's such a perfect platform for indie titles. For the type of indie games that I tend to like Hollow Knight or Shovel Knight, Speedrunners, Vagante, Risk of Rain, The Binding of Isaac, Guacamelee, these are all games that would fit perfectly on console as well as they would fit on a handheld device. And because of the overall convenience of this device, I could play it as a handheld, I could play it in tabletop mode, I could play it on my monitor, on my TV. I can choose exactly how I want to play these indie games. And the prospect of this I find incredibly exciting. I just hope that the approval process is relatively open compared to these other platforms. I haven't really done any research into this, but just still, the fact that we can potentially see so many of these awesome indie games on this combination home and handheld device, I find incredibly exciting. I find the future of this is something that I really want to follow very closely. And I'm hoping that it becomes the ultimate indie gaming console. Sure, PC will always be the ultimate indie gaming device, but the Switch, as far as portability and versatility goes, I believe it's going to have the PC beat. And I really hope that I'm right in this, because I love indie games. I love what they can come up with, and I hope that we see so many really good indie games on this platform in the future. We'll have to see. At the end of the day, it's still too early to say whether or not the Switch is going to have a good life or a bad life. But so far, after these 3 weeks, in spite of the complaints that I had in my previous 21-minute video, which is going to be a longer video than this, I am very impressed with the console. I'm very excited for the prospect of its future, and I'm hoping that we see more stuff like it. I'm hoping that Microsoft and Sony follow suit. I'm hoping that maybe some crazy person is going to make some portable PC where you can actually upgrade the innards of it. That'd be really weird and would probably get really expensive. And I'm thinking of something more than a laptop, more than streamable gaming like the Nvidia Shield. I want something that you can take with you that you can upgrade. I don't know, it'd be really weird, it'd be really expensive. I'm just blabbering at this point. Back to the main point. I like the Switch. I like it a lot. I really like the Pro Controller. It's my second favorite controller. I like the idea of the Joy-Cons even though I don't like them as a main controller. I love the fact that they even exist. I love the fact that it's portable. I love the fact that I can have one dock in one room, one dock in another room, and just take the console. Just move the console and there's no problem. You just stick it in the other dock, you're in the other room. You're playing. There's so many good things about this device that completely outweigh any of the bad, in my opinion. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, there's a really compelling reason for mainstream consumers to want to purchase one. More games, cheaper price, maybe. Maybe bundling in the game that should have been bundled in the first place. One, two, switch. Can't believe that game's not even bundled in. It's such a stupid. But anyway, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Twitter at ingeniousclown. And if you want more Switch content, be sure to check out my Switch Bad Stuff video. And if you want a broad discussion / review of Breath of the Wild with relatively minor spoilers, you can go check that out too. And until next time, bye-bye.